Bama put out some video of Monday's practice. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luke Robinson. That's Jimmy Stein. This is Locked On Bama. And yesterday, Alabama had another practice for the spring, and there was some video put out. There's also some interesting stuff out there, like Mr. Steve Mboumoua. I think that's how we're going with that, right?
Mboumoua. No way.
Just Mboumoua.
Per Alabama, it's just Mboumoua. I would put an M there.
Didn't we have an M in there before?
Because an M is there, but it's not pronounced. It is silent. Mboumoua per the Alabama official website. I try to get really official. Yeah,
I'm big on if it's going to be silent. What the hell is it doing in there anyway?
I don't know. It's kind of mean to do that to people, really.
You know, there was a comedian who talked about that he was like, he said, I wonder if letters just get together and like G is going, hey, can I just come over there and spell this word with y'all? They're like, there's no G in foreign. He goes, I know, but it would be kind of cool and it would screw with foreigners, ironically. So anyway,
there is a G in foreign, but other than that, that's hilarious. you know, would be if you like going first or last, you could put a silent A in front of your name or a silent Z.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Z Mboumoua. Steve Mboumoua was doing pretty well today. And he's running with the ones. And this is a guy that, you know, it's almost like a legendary thing. I don't know how many people saw it, but it was kind of a thing on our SEC host text chat where South Kakalaki got a commitment from this gigantor of a human being who happens to be African-American, which is wild because he came from Ireland.
Yeah,
and it just, you know, you wouldn't think of that. And it's just this freakazoid of an offensive lineman that athletically and physically, and I hadn't heard of him before, but it's sort of like that. Like here's Steve Mboumoua coming from Canada that is now in Alabama. And we've talked about him before because when you look at him, you go, oh God, that is some kind of monster out of out of a Tolkien thing. But and so it's sort of like a legendary thing, but you wonder, is it just like a legend? Is it real? So now that he's running with the ones, maybe he is for real.
Well, I think, you know, he has, I'd heard things that Mboumoua was kind of a story this spring to an extent. Nobody get carried away with that, to an extent. And now on the heels of hearing that, now we're seeing clips that the athletic department puts out that has Mboumoua in the first group. Now, understand, running with the ones or playing with the ones doesn't mean, okay, he's a starter now. I think the starting group, I mean, in terms of who you're most likely to see the most or out there on the first snap of the game, is likely to still be what I projected prior to the spring. Devin Tompkins at Bandit, Terrance Green at nose guard, London Simmons at the 3-tech spot. London is missing this spring. He's not out there. He's had to miss the entire spring due to injury. So they're playing with some other guys in London Simmons' spot, like Edric Hill, like Jeremiah Beeman. Devin Tompkins, by the way, spends some of his time at Bandit, some of his time at 3-tech. Mboumoua is one of these guys that's kind of made a move at 3-tech, and he would also be a guy that can play snaps at the nose and compete with Terrance Green for snaps there. It's encouraging. I would have said prior to this year that probably 2027 was more realistic for Mboumoua and his development in terms of when he would be ready. The fact it's a year earlier, perhaps, is super interesting. This is a position where you play a lot of guys. There's a rotation of guys that play. It's not just 3. It's a rotation. Last year, 6, 8 guys in there, and I think we see that again. But Mboumoua is looking like a guy who may be one of those 6 or 8. That's great news because it's a new player. I wouldn't say unexpected. I think all of us thought that Mboumoua would have a chance to be really good. It would just take some time. That time might be here. Redshirt sophomore, second year at Alabama, third year overall, played his freshman season in JUCO in Mississippi. But this is second year at Alabama, Luke, and it looks like he's sort of making a move And if Alabama's athletic department's watching just going, you guys are making too much of those clips. Well, this is all the clips we have. So that's y'all's fault. If you give us a little, we're going to make too much of it. Are we making too much of it? I'm sure we are. But this is what happens when you give us very little. We have to extrapolate it into something big. But it does line up with whispers I've heard about his development this spring. Mute. What? You're in Phoenix, still in.
I'm in Phoenix, 2 hours behind, and
still under the dome of silence.
Yeah, and see, Phoenix doesn't recognize daylight savings time. I don't think. I think they never change their time. Like sometimes they're 1 hour behind, and now it's 2 hours behind. So really, I mean, this is on Phoenix. But yeah, I think you're right about that. Everybody might be like, well, y'all are reading too much into it. It's all we have. I mean, the more you give it, the more you give it. It's like if you read the cliff notes on something, you're still going to have to imagine some of the other stuff that happened that the cliff notes don't cover. You got to fill in your own gaps. It's like they had to do in Jurassic Park. They had to fill in the gaps with certain creatures with DNA they couldn't get of the dinosaurs, and they used different lizards and frogs and whatever, and they had to fill in those gaps. That's what we're doing.
I've only seen one Jurassic Park.
All right, that's problematic. I mean, look, you don't need to see them all because
I saw the first one. They're
all the same movie.
I figured,
but you know, and ironically, Steve Mboumoua looks like something they would have created in Jurassic Park. That's exactly what he looks like. He is a monster of a human being.
That's an excellent segue.
Some of the other guys, some of the other defensive linemen, by the way, have been getting rave reviews. Terrance Green, Devin Tompkins. These guys, they have been getting a lot of praise. And so while it is, I think it's foolish to put too much optimism on these guys right now because, you know, Terrance Green, played some, and Devin Tompkins played some, but they weren't, I would consider, superstar. We think they're going to be really good, but I can't sit here and say they're all SEC yet.
It's not fair. It's not fair. It's just inaccurate, or really, it's not smart to say these guys are going to be great. I think it is fair, though, based on what we hear, based on what we see, it's just clips, to be excited about how good they might be. But you can't emphatically state too much. I mean, if the starting group is Tompkins, Green, and Simmons, Simmons is the known commodity, and he's a true sophomore that didn't play an enormous amount of snaps as a freshman. He played a lot. He played enough to certainly feel like, hey, this is going to be a guy. But Green was largely a number 2 guy. Now, Tompkins was a significant player at Southern Cal, and I'm super excited about him for all sorts of reasons. Other thing on the video, while we're talking about the practice video that was released from the Monday practice, again, it's just clips, and they practice for like 2 hours, and they show us a minute and a half. So it's not fair to assume this, but I still have to point it out because I like it, and that's that they spent so much time showing us the offensive line and tight ends working on the run blocking. Maybe that's intentional that they're showing us that. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. Maybe it's, hey, let's show them that we're working on this. But they showed a lot of run game stuff on the offensive line. They showed combination blocks of offensive linemen and tight ends working together. That is pure run game stuff. Also makes me think of new tight ends coach Richard Owens coming in, who's the new tight end coach, who also was Louisville's offensive line coach as soon as last year. Extensive experience coaching the offensive line. Now we're seeing, not that they didn't do it before, I'm sure, but now that we're seeing the offensive line and tight ends working on combo blocks up front in the run game, hey, I get excited about it because, hey, anybody listening to this show, every single person listening, nod your head, all of y'all listening, all of y'all know we got to run the ball better. I mean, this is a universal thing, and they're working on it. They're working on it. Does that mean it's going to be improved? No. Just because you work on it doesn't mean anything. You hear that old term, practice makes perfect. That's not true. Perfect practice makes perfect. And by that means you got to be working on the right things enough of the time, not repping the wrong things. That's not going to get you any better. But I think they're working at it. And they got some Adrian Clem, Richard Owens. These are guys that come from a run game background.
It is kind of weird when you were talking about all that. Like we focus on run blocking. You've seen some run schemes. You do this. I think it was Deshaun Hall that visited recently, and he said, I loved Alabama's practice. They put the ball in the air a lot. That was actually a quote. I meant to bring it up last podcast. And so I just thought that was interesting that, anyway, and we're about to talk about running backs here in just 1 second. And I promise not to call a second Seki anymore.
We can ditch that. I bet they use the heck out of this Robinhood app in Nottingham.
Oh God. All right. Thank you for bailing my terrible joke out with your terrible joke. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, and which is a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Okay, that's the Jimmy Stein guarantee. And I'll give you another Jimmy Stein guarantee. That's Indeed. Yes. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hours. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, and not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post like a sucker. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing. Look, listeners, this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply because they apply to everything. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
I like how you sing that. You should sing more often on the show. You get all the Elvis stuff. So
I've been, it's funny that I said that last time about, when we were talking about Christy Curry has that I need to talk to the manager haircut. And then I said, well, she could call me Elvis who died on the toilet. Like I had about four or five people in the comments go, oh my God, you do look like toilet Elvis. I mean, that's crazy. And I've had every time somebody from the North calls Robinson, every time somebody from the North calls Robinson Iron about something, not every time, but I'm going to say in the 30 some odd years I've been there, at least 30 times somebody from the North is going, hey, you ever been told you sound just like Elvis? I don't know why. I don't know why I did an Italian accent, but yeah, that's what I think of. Okay, so Daniel Hill. Look, everybody's geeked about EJ Crowell. By the way, there was someone in the comments the other day who was like, y'all shouldn't be so psyched about EJ Crowell. He's soft as tissue. Nah, he's not. He's just not. Now, he may be hurt right now, and you may use the fact that he's hurt right now as evidence that you're correct. I'm just telling you, I've watched this guy in 2 state championships. Let me tell you what the adjective I wouldn't use. There are thousands of other adjectives I would use before I got to soft. I mean, he's so good. Okay, but when we're geeked about him and everybody else, if they're not geeked about EJ Crowell, they're geeked about A.K. Deer. And they should be, because he still had the longest run of the year last year. He was he's electric. He was all the potential in the world. He runs like a deer. I mean, he's just a really fast and elusive and strong guy. But Daniel Hill came out the other day. Does this mean he's going to be a great running back? I don't know. He squats 805 pounds.
That seems like a lot.
That has to be good.
I'm not a weight expert, but that seems like a lot.
I
would go a lot. I would go, okay, that's a lot.
That's 3.5 Lukes on his back. That's what that is.
3.5 Elvis on the toilet. Toilet Elvis. 3.5 toilet Elvises.
Well, that's Elvis 2. Luke and 6 toilets on his back. I died in a whole restroom at the stadium.
Yeah. For one thing, here's how excited I am about Crowell. This was a Ryan Williams podcast. Now it's a Ryan Coleman Williams podcast, but it was a Ryan Williams podcast back in the day. And me and Luke really hyped him up. And I would hope most people listening, go back to his freshman year, would agree that the kid lived up to the hype. I mean, he was one of the best players in this league when he was 17 years old in terms of a playmaking guy. He had almost 1,000 yards. I think he had, right at 900 yards, and unbelievable. Well, put it this way. If my excitement and expectation level for how productive Ryan was, if I'm going to say, okay, that's me at a 10, I'm at a 9 for EJ Crowell. Not quite Ryan. Not quite that. Big reason being difference in position. It's a more physical position. It's a more demanding position for a young player to play banging heads with the front seven. You don't have to do that when you're lined up outside. So for that reason, I'm going to back off the Ryan thing a little bit. But I want to compare the two in the sense that my excitement and anticipation level is similar. I think he's going to be a really good player right off the bat. I really think so, tempered with the fact that he's reclassed and it's a physical spot, more physical than wide receiver. But no, he's not soft. The fact that he hasn't practiced full time yet has not at all tempered my expectations for him. And what I've heard, by the way, I hear things. What I've heard in limited viewing, he's been impressive.
Okay. Now I like that.
I think we'll see more of him. There's A-Day is now 11 days away from Tuesday. It's Tuesday. 11 days away is A-Day. I think we're going to see Crowell. That's just how I feel today based on what I know today. I think we're going to see him A-Day. Probably not a ton because A-Day is full contact, tackle to the ground stuff. He's been a little dinged up. I'm going to say limited action, but all it's going to take is a couple carries for y'all to see enough to get excited about what he might be this fall. Daniel Hill has lost weight. I know he's squatting 800 pounds, incredible power. Dude, I know you're strong. I know you're powerful. I know you can catch the ball. This is what I need to see him do. Make somebody miss. Make somebody miss. Make somebody miss. Not have to run through contact every single carry at the line of scrimmage. Burst past someone, make someone miss. If he adds that to his tool belt, we may have something. But if he doesn't, I'm just being brutally honest here. If he doesn't, he's going to get passed up by A.K. and EJ.
I think you're right. And because, see, I've seen EJ catch the ball too. A.K. Deer, I don't know about his ball catching skill. We just hadn't seen it. So, I can't say I think he's going to catch the ball well. I don't know. But Daniel Hill, he made a great catch against Missouri. And he had his longest run of the year against Oklahoma in that playoff game. But even that run was, you could tell, okay, I think a more running back guy, traditional running back guy, probably goes for 6 on that one, because he just doesn't have the elusiveness. Now, he's got the I'm going to run over you thing, and you don't have to be super. Tim Castile wasn't the most elusive guy. Jalston Fowler wasn't the most elusive guy. So, you can be a really good running back for Alabama and not have to be super elusive. And I think it's great that you squat 805 pounds. And in fact, that's what the thumbnail picture is, because I've never heard of such where somebody squats 805 pounds. It's ridiculous. What did Jalen Hurts squat? Because everybody talked about his. Now, his may have been 1,500. He was
off the top of my head, I was going to say in the 6s, but I'm not a weight guy that remembers that stuff. But even that, for a quarterback, is insane.
That's ridiculous.
I think something like 650, if I remember right. But see, Daniel Hill's very good as a pass catcher, and we've seen him make plays. And I think the explanation for it is when he catches the ball, now he's out in space, and he's very effective out there. Where he's been ineffective is playing the running back position, getting a handoff or a pitch, and running to space and creating space for himself by running to open area. That just hasn't worked as well. But once he has the ball in space, this kid's highly effective. And again, I just think it just comes down to quickness. DeBoer talked about already in a press conference how he was hurt last summer and fall, and that affects your ability to control your weight and work on your body when you're hurt and missing time.
Exactamundo. We're going to talk a little mock draft when we come back. Right now, though, I've got to tell y'all about, I think it's 5 Hour Energy. It is 5 Hour Energy. Hell, I'll guarantee 5 Hour Energy. It's awesome. I love it. Look, there's all kind of flavors. You know that at my office, at my desk, when I'm back in Alabama, I've got the confetti craze. No, I don't. I've got cotton candy right there, and I love cotton candy. There's also confetti craze, which is really my favorite. But they didn't have it at this place I went. And then there's fruity rainbow, which is Jimmy's favorite. Look, there's so many flavors out there that are just fantastic. And it's not too sweet, but it's sweet enough, and it's not taking some. Sometimes you have to take medicine or something. It doesn't taste. You used to have to take little shots like this, and they didn't taste great. These taste great. I mean, they taste fantastic, and they pick you up just enough, and then you don't crash down. You get eased down, which is also fantastic. I mean, it's just the product you want to have if you need a little pick-me-up in the afternoon, and the Lord knows I need a pick-me-up in the afternoon. Look, you want to go to the number 5hourenergy.com, go to Amazon, get them, go to Walgreens and get them. I had to go to Walgreens today because I got the gout again, which is unbelievable. And then I know I'm just gouted up. And then you can also go to CVS. You can go to Walmart. They in any 5 Hour Energies are everywhere because everybody wants them. So, I mean, if you're a business, you need to have them. I don't care what you're selling. So go get you some 5 Hour Energy and you will love it. Well, first of all, before we get to the mock draft, Gus Malzahn is on the playoff selection committee, which can't be good for us under any circumstance.
I don't think he loves Alabama. That's just a feeling I get. He would certainly turn from what I think is a pretty good ball coach into some sort of combination of Einstein and Lombardi when he coached against Alabama, but and against all others, pretty good football coach. But gosh, he seems to be full of the Bama hate.
He is, and then his wife seems to hate Alabama more than that. And she's got a look about her. She looks like she'd like to speak to Christy Curry's manager.
No wonder Gus. It's probably why Gus hates us so much. We talk about his wife, so that's probably why he hates us. It's probably our fault.
Well, it was her. She did go on some kind of talk show and rolled her eyes when she was talking about Nick Saban. I mean, it's like. The lack of respect over there. So you can't do that. I've been watching.
Gus is a smart guy. I mean, obviously, Gus is a smart guy. I think people like Gus should be on the committee. You just hope they don't bring their biases with them. But guess what? We're all biases. I mean, we all have our own biases and prejudice. We pretend that other people are worse than we are, but we all carry them. But look, I actually trust Gus to do a good job. I joke, but I trust
wonder
Gus
if he didn't have to leave the room for that like Greg Byrne does for the selection committee on the NCAA tournament.
You would if they were talking about Auburn or Florida State or where he coached. But I don't think it'd have to do with, quote, the enemy, although that is kind of funny because here's the weird thing. I don't know that he would be allowed to officiate a game Alabama's playing in. I mean, they all, quote, Auburn grads can't do Auburn games. I'm not sure they can do I think they do Alabama games.
Well, David Smith has done Auburn games because they have.
I think they do.
I don't know if he's done Auburn Alabama game. I don't think he can do a Bama game.
I think there are a couple of Auburn guys that have done Alabama games in the past. And again, I trust that they actually do a good job and that they don't. But I get why people will be paranoid about it. But I don't worry about it.
Listen, in the end, look, we're teasing. I don't think Gus Malzahn would. I really don't. I mean, some people may think I'm nuts. I'm just not going to be that paranoid because I've seen. It's funny to me. I saw on some Auburn message boards when Alabama got into the NCAA tournament this year. They're like, "Oh, of course Alabama gets the easiest path because Greg Byrne is on the." I'm like, if we get to the third round, we've got to play Michigan, who is a machine, and
a four is not the ideal seed. You could have Alabama had a case to be a 3. If Greg Byrne had major influence, Alabama would have been a 3. Alabama was right. By the way, Alabama was a 4 right where Joe Lunardi. Does anybody think Lunardi is some sort of Bama mouthpiece? Lunardi said Alabama was a 4.
Yeah.
And I think we played one of the tougher 13s in Hofstra, frankly.
Well, and then Texas Tech, everybody said, well, JT Toppin was out. He was. We still beat the fire out of him. If JT Toppin had played that game, he wasn't helping them that game.
They nearly beat Arizona in the Big 12 championship game without Toppin. They're not terrible. So no, I don't get that.
All right. So mock draft. Okay.
Yep.
There is actually a guy that listens to the show, and I appreciate him. We appreciate everybody who watches and listens. And his name is Ty Simpson is blank. That's his name. He just didn't like Ty Simpson. I'm down with that. Okay, if you don't, you have your own opinion. I don't agree with it.
Why?
But I found it interesting. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this particular mock draft that I'm about to tell you was that man's head's going to explode because Charles Davis, by the way, who played at Tennessee, came out on the NFL Network, on NFL.com with his mock draft. He's got Fernando Mendoza going 1, Arvell Reese to the Jets at 2, and then 1 Ty Simpson to the Arizona Cardinals at 3. I'm going to say this, but even though I really like Ty Simpson, I think that's high, but I get it because it's the NFL and it's a quarterback league and everybody gets scared to death that, okay, if we don't get the second best quarterback, whoever that is, when we need a quarterback, we're going to get screwed. So it's not going to shock me. Every other mock draft has him back into the first, maybe as high as like 13 or something occasionally, or 12. But I have not seen Ty Simpson at 3 until this particular mock draft. And I was like, wow. I mean, I hope it comes to fruition. I'd love to see it. I do think it's high, but you overpay for quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah, I will be stunned Charles Davis is certainly a really good NFL analyst, and a great guy. I like anybody like Charles, but that's high for me. I mean, Matt Miller in his most recent, he had actually Ty out of the first round, but he had him at 33, the very first pick of the second round to the Jets, at 33. I think it's going to be somewhere between what Charles is saying and what Matt Miller's saying. I think Matt Miller might have had a little low. I think Charles might have a little high, but that's just me guessing. Back to the guy with the inflammatory name about Ty. I don't understand anyone that's an actual Alabama fan not liking Ty Simpson, who's like the most loyal gump of all time amongst our quarterbacks, that stayed patient, that played hurt. I don't get not liking Ty. I mean, I don't get not liking any of them, frankly, but especially not liking Ty. I don't get it. Now, you might say, I'm a big Alabama fan. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. That's just an opinion. That's fine. Anyone can have that opinion. That's fine. But to not like Ty, that's like, whoo. I guess they don't like puppies or apple pie. But that said, I'm eager to see. I think where I'm seeing in these mocks kind of justifying my thought as to this, I think day 1 and day 2 are going to be pretty quiet for Alabama compared to recent years. It might even be the lowest number of Alabama players drafted combined day 1 and day 2. But I think day 3, which is still the NFL draft in the National Football League, I think day 3 Alabama hits out of the park, ends up with double-digit players drafted, and not a lot of programs will be able to say that nationally. I think Alabama will have one of the teams with the most players drafted. I just see so much of it happening on day 3. You're on mute. You're on mute. And for the outro too. That's why I sort of predicted at that time too. I saw you on mute, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna be.
I even did the whole patented thing where I
know
a box.
Well, that you can't mute that. That's a patented thing.
It's unmutable.
That's like when Chris Collinsworth slides into the, Chris Collinsworth slides in on, he's patented that. That's your Chris Collinsworth sliding into the picture to do the Sunday night NFL football.
All right. That's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.